Before Avatar 3 comes out, I wanted to talk about James Cameron's most underrated film. This is not your Terminator, this is not your Aliens, this is not your Titanic, this is, of course, not your Avatar. It's one of his lesser known films that came out in 1989, and it's very popularly known to have been a production hell. Like, it was extremely hard to shoot this film, and most of this film is shot completely underwater. And the film I'm talking about is the sci-fi thriller called The Abyss. Now, I'm not sure if a lot of you have heard of the film. I was just going through Cameron's filmography and came across this film, and the story and the basic plot really intrigued me. So essentially, a submarine goes missing, and a couple of divers are sent down to figure out the mystery of the submarine. But what's really interesting about the film is that it does not stop there. It's not really just about the disappearance of the submarine. There's a lot of supernatural elements, there's a lot of mysticism. It plays out partly like a nail-bitingly intense submarine underwater thriller, and then a part of it is this Spielbergian adventure filled with sense of wonder and joy, and there's a part of it which is also commentary on humanity and our urge and need to just resort to violence. So there's a lot of dark and heavy themes in this, but it's also a really entertaining film to watch. Now, I personally resonated with the film a lot, and I watched the special edition, which is actually an extended edition, which I believe has 20 to 25 minutes more footage than the original theatrical version, and I think that really changes everything. So in fact, this special edition's ending is a bit extended, and that adds so much depth to the entire film. There's a lot more commentary about humanity, and there's a lot of contrast in the way different human beings deal with situations, and I think that really is brought out in the special edition. I of course don't want to give any spoilers, but I think you'll understand what I mean when you watch the film. Now, there's so many things to appreciate about it. The reason why I said earlier there was a production hell was because Cameron was completely adamant to shoot the entire film in actual water. So like, he wanted all the underwater sequences to be real, and so the entire crew and cast had to be submerged underwater for multiple days, and they had to go about shooting the entirely breathtaking sequences. But the actors were under a lot of duress, the crew was under a lot of duress. But you know what? When the output is as thrilling as this, I think sometimes extreme measures are totally worth it. And I kid you not when I say this is some of the best underwater sequences you'll ever see. If you watched Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning recently, there is an underwater sequence in that entire film where Tom Cruise is submerged underwater, he goes inside a submarine. This is very suspenseful and very thrilling. It's like that, but for 3 hours. And it's so beautifully made, like incredibly well shot, and this is exactly my kind of film. You know, these are the kind of films that I really sit there in awe and watch for however long they are, because it really feels magical, because a part of you can't comprehend that they actually went ahead and shot the film the way they did. Or just, you're looking at some shots, and one shot you can really see on the screen behind me, which in itself looks gorgeous, and the film is filled with more such gorgeous shots, especially when they bring in the element of mysticism into it. There's a lot of that, and that really brings in a lot of profound imagery throughout. And another reason the film also works is the core emotion between the characters. Now, it took me some time to get into the characters of the film, like the core group who are present inside this machine, and basically a version of a submarine itself. They're submerged under, and that's where they start investigating the ruins of the submarine, which has, basically crashed all of a sudden. But it took me some time, but once you're crossed the 1 hour mark, you start caring for these characters like they're your own friends. But more importantly, I think one of the film's best scenes is the scene between Ed Harris's character and his wife, who in the beginning are to be divorced, and throughout the film and through the extreme circumstances that they are in together, they eventually find love. That is their entire arc. Now there is one scene which I'm trying not to spoil. It's all I can say about that is that it's a scene about resurrection. I don't really want to say more than that, but essentially that scene blew my mind. The amount of emotional weight in that is some of Cameron's best moments in his entire career. Like the amount of emotional heft you see, and Ed Harris's performance is genuinely one of the best acting performances, especially that scene. It's incredible. And I don't know, there's something about that scene that really resonated with me. And I think this entire story of this couple who's about to be divorced, but then they find love through extreme circumstances, all of this is tied in so beautifully. And what's really interesting though is James Cameron directed this film while he was being divorced. So he was going through a divorce, and then he made a film about a couple who's going through divorce, and the wife gets back to this guy. I mean, that has to be one of the greatest power moves in the history of cinema. I don't know what to even call it, but it's so fascinating that the man decided to heal himself by exploring divorce in his own story. So it's just fascinating. It's just endlessly fascinating in all regards. I mean, in terms of the backstory, in terms of how it was shot, in terms of the actual story. And again, there's a lot of things going on. As I said, there's a supernatural element. There's a bit of a mystery going on. There's a bit of this love story going on. There's a bit of this camaraderie between all the crew members. And all of these things come together very beautifully, and the ending is very hard hitting, especially the special edition ending. Now, I'm not sure the theatrical cut exactly. I read about it. It kind of seemed dumb, especially after sitting in the film for 2+ hours. If that's the ending you got, I don't know. I just found the special edition's ending to be more of a full circle thing. Like, it just made sense from start to end. But anyways, I don't really have much else to say about The Abyss, except that if you are somehow convinced that you have to watch it, you totally should, and check out the special edition. It is my favorite Cameron film. It's nothing against Terminator 2 or the Aliens or Avatars. You know, all of them are incredible in their own sense, and all of them some of the best visual achievements of all time. Of course, Titanic as well. But I just think that when it comes to films like this, this film is again flawed. It is not very coherent. It is messy. It's all over the place. But I think when it comes to films like this with such ambition and such originality, it's really hard for me to not be fascinated by it every time I think about it. So like literally every time I think about The Abyss, I'm just endlessly fascinated by how much food for thought it gave me just while watching it. So it is absolutely one of those films, and just go ahead and check it out. It is definitely Cameron's most underrated film that deserves way more appreciation than it does. So that's about the video. I just wanted to make it. I watched the film, loved it, and I wanted to talk about it. So if you guys have any other recommendations on films that are really flawed, very ambitious, and have a lot of ideas in them, and that endlessly fascinate you, is there anything that way? And also tell me what's your favorite James Cameron film, because that's in topic. So I really would love to hear that. And yeah, Avatar 3 is coming up, so that's pretty exciting. We'll all see how that goes. Thank you very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you again.